the best way to get into meditation. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. How do I get into meditation? Well, the first steps before meditation, what should I know or be aware about? Any tips or tricks? Let us begin with some broad brushstrokes. We shall explore this in 3 points. Number 1, let's begin by dispelling misconceptions. Meditation, as taught by the Buddha, arguably the world's most famous meditation teacher, has nothing to do about thought suppression or mind blanking. It has nothing to do with active concentration. I know, it's weird, isn't it? It also has nothing to do with manifesting, with selecting our circumstances or our health or our companions or even our thoughts. Meditation, as taught by the Buddha, is not about rigidly selecting some things, reaching for some things, and shoving other things away. It's a method that teaches us how to spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively transcend our tendencies to live in perpetual resistance, and instead to flow and to surf the present moment in a way that helps us to have an ideal relationship with whatever presents itself. Second, you'll want to view meditation through the lens of neuroscience. Language is treacherous. 2 people with advanced degrees in the same country, in the same culture, speaking the same language, can still disagree so badly that in Philosophy 101 they caution us to first agree upon definitions before starting any conversation, lest one find oneself communicating at cross purposes. If it is that treacherous in one's own language, imagine what it's like translating into dead languages, languages that have been dead for millennia. We can cut through the confusion of contemporary Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism by viewing it through neuroscience. And I would like to do that with you right now to a certain degree. The 7th fold of the Buddha's 8-fold path is mindfulness. Consider, if you will, the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is not ensconced within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears. Oh, no, no. Instead, the sympathetic nervous system is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. No, it has not evolved to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Well, then what has our sympathetic nervous system evolved to do? Our sympathetic nervous system has evolved to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. We have evolved to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We have also evolved to notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. These things are not digital, they're analog. So we evolved to notice whole ranges of things, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. So that can seem really, really overwhelming. And we could ask ourselves, understandably, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to manage all this stuff? And we'll answer that in a moment, but I forgot something. I forgot to mention that since our sympathetic nervous system has not evolved to actively, rigidly concentrate, what if we're not supposed to concentrate on our breath? What do we do with our breath? And the answer is simple. We treat our breath the way a piano student treats the metronome. We don't control the speed or depth of breathing. We simply notice it. And there's certain things we do silently and mentally when we notice we're inhaling, such as we can silently and mentally, well, I'll get back to that in a moment. And there's certain things we do when we exhale. Now, I've mentioned the conundrum of being overwhelmed by all the sensory input we experience during each inhalation. And I asked you the question, what do we do? How do we manage it in the most skillful way? And the answer is meditation. You see, every time that we exhale, we are wired to access our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord as well as the tippy top of the cervical region that some kids call the reticular activation system. I'm probably mispronouncing that. And simpletons like myself just call the brainstem, because let's face it, it reminds us of a mushroom, doesn't it? So this parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now check this out. Our brain, our 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, is kind of like... Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that, kids. So, we are evolved to practice spontaneously perceive during our inhalation and spontaneously release during our exhalation. Now, what happens if we don't receive good quality meditation in this direction? What happens if we never learned about our sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous systems? Well, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything blows, and not in the fun, tingly way. And so it should therefore not surprise us that 90% of meditation teachers are horrible, and they will teach you to actively and rigidly concentrate and actively analyze. If we choose to do that, the only parts of our brain suited for active concentration and active analysis, or structures such as the medial prefrontal cortex as well as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. When we over-rely on our prefrontal cortex to do things it has not evolved to do, our blood, according to functional magnetic resonance imaging studies, our blood will collect at our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety, located in the proverbial dungeon of our limbic system. Now, if we persist in overusing our prefrontal cortex for things it has not evolved to do, such as emotional management, in the long term, we can so exhaust these tissues that we begin to present with symptoms of depression, and nobody wants that. But the good news is this. When we cease to rely upon our prefrontal cortex for active concentration or analysis, and instead rely upon our sympathetic nervous systems or during our inhalation, sympathetic nervous system for perception, and rely upon our exhalations, parasympathetic nervous system for release, this blood that formerly collected at our amygdala shifts to this structure right here, this big old thing that kind of looks a little bit like catcher's mitt. This thing is what big kids call the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. This is why the greatest Dzogchen Lamas of Tibet have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. The third approach to mastering meditation this year is taking a sustainable approach. Biting off more than we can chew. Well, if you are at a big old fancy steakhouse, now I'm a vegan, so you probably won't find me there, but if you're at a big old fancy steakhouse and you bite off more than you can chew, you'll choke to death, you'll turn purple, tip over, fall down, wiggle funny, and all around disturb the other diners. If your meditation teacher pushes you too hard, too fast, you will get horrible results and you'll develop an aversion to the whole process. So I recommend setting one up for success. Bear in mind that in the second to the final passage of the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha promised that it is possible to master his path in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights. That's huge. Let's take the Buddha at his word. Find yourself a teacher who can teach you how to sit sustainably on a folded yoga blanket, with your shins on a folded yoga blanket, your ankles on a folded yoga blanket, your tush under a nice firm cushion you can get for a nominal price online. Notice that in the most ancient Buddha statues, the legs are not contorted into a full lotus position, but simply one shin is just stacked upon the other. Notice that just as the forearms can twist, so can the legs, to protect the crowns of the ankle from undue stress. Ask a ballet student, ask your niece. She'll tell you that the knees are just hinge joints and we turn out only from the hips. Similarly, we do not force our legs down into this position. We merely arrange our legs and let gravity do the work for us over the span of a week or two. Sitting as little as 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. Most of us were not raised in Iron Age India. Most of us were not raised counting on the creases of our fingers and sitting cross-legged on the ground. But we can master those skills gently and easily. So, if you have a good, let's break it down to brass tacks. The first week, you could sit for 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. You can set your smartphone. You can come to one of my live streams. All my live streams are free. They're all hosted on YouTube. And if your schedule doesn't coordinate with my schedule, that's okay, because YouTube does a very good job of saving the majority of my live streams. And you can set a timer on your smartphone. When that timer goes off, you can just jet. By the second week, you can bump that up to 10 minutes every 12 hours. By the third week, you can bump that up to 15 minutes every 12 hours. I'm sure you notice a pattern here. Sticking with this pattern, by the conclusion of the 15th week, you could be comfortable sitting for a 15-minute lesson and a 60-minute practice, because you have progressed gradually and sustainably. It has been less of a shock to your mind and to your body and to the minds of your pets and your person and your children and your friends and your relatives and your co-work, because it's a subtle change. You're not experiencing the stress of freaking out your friends and family. And nobody wants that. So that's it. Work with these 3 things. Use realistic expectations. Take the neuroscience approach to meditation and progress sustainably. And this calendar year, you could master the Buddha's path. I do look forward to practicing with you together as a team. after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Let us play with the latest iteration of All Goods Easy Meditation. Known in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra, which translates into Tibetan as Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo, Yabyum, and translates further into English as the All Good Ones Sporting and Tantric Union. If one has the misfortune to traverse the path of being rigid, fearful, and controlling, one might view them as entities to be worshipped or supplicated. However, if you found me on the internet, you're most likely drawn to the path of being flexible and loving and laid back, and as such, you would view this image simply as an archetype whose iconography reminds us of love and letting go. Let us begin with our primary practice. We're going to have 2 sets of meditations. Together, let us recite. Prepare to snap your fingers. I respectfully bow my crown to thee, wisdom realizing, ever-changing one, and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. I respectfully bow my crown to thee, wisdom realizing, ever-changing one, and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. I respectfully bow my crown to the wisdom realizing, ever-changing one, and all there is nothing permanent to grasp. And now, just like we glossed over it during the opening lesson, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness, the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. But I'll be back in a moment. Please chant with me. rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with our follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. We could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully enlightened as the hot mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable seed or bija mantra. So, our job is not to visualize or emote or believe. By simply playing with words in harmony with our breathing, we can exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy. All complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. So the more we use figurative language skillfully, the more profoundly we can viscerally master both love and letting go. So we use the simile. The simile phrase is this: how enlightened is enlightened as a Buddha. How enlightened is enlightened by the heart mind of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a tikle or syllable or seed mantra. So we're going to take all these words and squeeze them down into just 6 syllables. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite bija wise. As we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite for all minds. So I invite you to perform this for 4 rounds. A round is just 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. So let us count 4 rounds upon the left little finger of our left hand by advancing the tip of our left thumb during each inhalation. Together. May whole relationships or speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by the heart mala mantra. That's a mouthful. So heart mala mantra just means that there's the idea that a mantra is arranged in a horizontal circle at the heart of an archetype. And I mentioned previously that an archetype just arranges the iconography in a way that helps us to remember the teachings. Let us count the next 4 rounds upon our left ring finger. May all bodies or forms of all beings know and enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Let us now count 4 rounds upon our left middle finger. May all circumstances, all lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Alti. Let's count the next 4 rounds upon our left index finger. Let's see, this is page 36. One moment, if you please. Okay, let's go over here, back to 36, and hit paste. And again, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and letting go. Thank you for your patience while I was fiddling about. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the figurative practice of the rainbow body. One moment. Together. All visible circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could lifeily absorb into this body or form. All sensual bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could lifeily absorb into this communication or speech. All resounding interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. All lucid minds could be as impermanent and interdependent, as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could lifeily absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. Let us perform the chants of refuge and bodhicitta. In our compassion may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of ever. hating, craving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the three mental poisons. In all pragmatism, may all liberation of all others be fueled by your reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Aha, one moment if you please. In all pragmatism, may all liberation of all others be fueled by our reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the three worship-filling jewels. Having sat for the better part of 75 minutes, you might find it refreshing to join me in a dozen or so repetitions of geriatric step-back squat thrusts while I softly recite the essentialization of that which we just chanted. Free on through the three jewels. May we 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 free on through the three jewels. We free on through the three jewels. May 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 we free on through the three jewels. Let us seal this morning's practice by chanting loving, letting go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid, yet void no be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by all one-subtle bija. May all speech of all beings resounding, yet void no be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by all multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual, yet void no be as healthy as a Yidam archetype depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing, yet void no be as fortunate as a pure land of law represented in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 9.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.